Welcome to Weapons of Meme Destruction podcast episode number 217, which can be found at wmdpodcast.com/217. You can get the audio only on any podcast catcher. Just search Weapons of Meme Destruction, and you can get the video on YouTube, Rumble, Odyssey, and X. David?
See.
Why aren't we talking Halloween this week?
Because we are new parents. Well, the one of us is a new parent for the second time, but one of us is a new parent, and I love Halloween, and I've got all these masks over here, and it's just not... I don't have the energy or the strength this year. But maybe next year I guess I could put a backwards hat on and say I'm a little eager because of that. If you know Hocus Pocus, you know what that is. But
I mean, listen, sleep at 2-hour chunks at a time, if you're doing well, is not a way to conduct life. I will say
2
that.
2 hours at a time. This fucking guy, unbelievable.
I know.
Be getting,
are you getting any long periods of sleep? Are you getting 3-4 hours here and there, or is the little dude
the little lady's had the time off, so she takes usually the shift from about I usually put him down around probably 1 or 1:30 in the morning, so I take the late night shift. And he usually stays asleep till 3:30, 4. Then she gets up and does that whole shabazz, which have at it.
Yeah.
Early mornings don't do, but I mean, every time he cries, I wake up anyway. So then it's like REM sleep is, like I said, REM sleep. I'll see you when I'm 80. I don't know if I'll ever see you again, but
yeah.
But what about the little one over there? Is she behaving herself?
Let's just say I do have a favorite child at this point, and it's not the second one. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's not even.
It's always the second one, though. It's not. The first one's always the easiest.
Exactly. It's not even the standard, like, oh, newborn, they only sleep so long and that, only sleep a couple hours and then you got to feed them. Like, I get that. That's standard newborn stuff. But this one has a lot more idiosyncrasies and issues with her sleep.
She's trying to kill you
schedule than did the first one. The first one was much smoother. So, yeah, the first one is definitely my favorite, and the second one will know that. So.
Yeah. Wait.
then I'm gonna make him compete for my. I'm gonna make him compete for my love, which is totally healthy.
That's prudent. I think that works out the best way. And then you should pit them against their mother as well. Yeah, you should sick them on her every now and again too.
Listen, I like to take my parenting cues from the government and their media mouthpieces, trying to constantly pit us against each other, hoping that good things are going to happen.
Do what you want to the girl, but leave me alone. Anyway.
Yes. So let's actually talk about on this week's episode.
We want a white girl politic now, Dane?
Yes.
Is that what you want to do?
Yes, I would, after getting white girl wasted, which I also did not too long ago, earlier today.
Well, keeping it together, I would have joined you in
You're going to get a frosty Dane on this episode. So this week, we are talking about gaslighting and outright admitting that democracy sucks, which, by the way, if that was their point, we agree. But it's the way that they make that point that kind of off-putting, so to speak.
They should be off-putting. They're all fat. Big, dumb fat heads.
Take that.
And you're all stupid and fat, and your mom dresses you funny. Take that.
What we're talking this week is two things. First of all, we have a tweet from Pete Buttigieg, also known as the Transportation Secretary of the United States.
I think we've got 3 of those, so you just burned one.
And he's...
But it's fun because he does that too. Anyway, go ahead.
He's gaslighting everybody, libertarians in particular.
I hope not while he's doing the aforementioned.
We'll get to that more later. And then we have a nice little clip from just disgusting of all disgusting journalists, and Applebaum, talking about when democracy really isn't democracy anymore, and wink, wink, nod, nod, it is when people are acting democratically. So let's kick it off in episode 217 with the tweet from Pete Buttigieg. There's 2. I got 1 more.
I think I didn't read all the rules. I just saw 3 somewhere, and I'm pretty much going with it.
So Pete, and I didn't catch the date on this, but this was very recently, because
I hope, in fact, can we pause for a second? What if at the next rally you hear the And Pete butt sex is he's out here again. Do we get like royalties on that?
If you hear it and
I'm hitting him.
If you hear it and Donnie doesn't give us a direct shout out,
he's been on some pretty like low budge podcasts. I think we might be able to get the Don. I know a guy that knows a guy, by the way.
Listen, and if there's one thing I know about Trump,
one part of my family would disown me.
Trump is a big fan of, clever names of his political adversaries. So I think that one's pretty great. I don't even know if
we'll give you this one for free. You have to come on the show.
We're popularizing it. Anyway, so Pete,
set it up.
I'm not burning my third one yet. It's too early in the episode.
Just wait on it. Just let it simmer a little bit.
Pete has this gaslighting tweet for libertarians of all groups of people because, and before I read the tweet, just a little bit of backstory for those that may not be paying attention to headlines and mainstream news over the last couple of weeks, which if you're not, good on you.
Probably
you have some former Trump staffers, several of them in the military. Famously, over the last couple of years, Mark Milley has been talking about how erratic and terrible Trump would be for World War, despite not starting wars while in office. But you get the point. And then other staffers having other bombastic things to say about what Trump did or didn't say while he was in office that gives them concern or pause. And this past week, we had a former four-star general, Trump's former chief of staff, John Kelly, comes out 2 weeks before the election, held this one close to the vest for the last 4+ years. But 2 weeks before the election, he has a sudden epiphany. He remembers that Trump once said in the White House, "I need some generals like Hitler had," allegedly. Again, there is John Kelly and the mouse in his pocket are the two individuals corroborating this story. And of course,
why would he make that up, Dane? Dane, why would he make that up? Come on, Dane.
Exactly.
Dane, come on.
Career opportunity if the other party wins.
Aside from that, what other opportunities would this afford him?
Probably not getting him thrown in jail when the tapes of him with Epstein's youngest associates gets leaked.
Aside from that, Dane, what other motives would he possibly have? Lie about something as serious as this.
That's it. Money, power, and coercion for prior bad acts.
Gain of power, gain of money, and then getting out from a sticky situation.
Pun intended.
PD boy probably likes to get himself into.
So anyway, on the backs of General Kelly saying that Trump said this, again, to the corroboration of nobody, and other former Trump staffers saying that Trump's erratic, Trump's dangerous, Trump's a fascist, Trump's a dictator, Trump's blah, 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 all the same shit you've been hearing since 2016. Pete Buttigieg, not burning that third one yet, had this to say on Twitter.
You should say it. Should be the last word we say on this podcast. It should make him sit all the way to the last one. Anyway, go ahead.
He shares an article that is titled, "Some of Trump's most senior former advisors warn he could deploy troops against Americans." And Pete says about that article, he says, "Libertarians," I feel like he's talking directly to us, David. He says
he knows we exist. Wow.
He says
it took him all the way until 10 days before the election to remember we exist. Cool. That's cool.
He says, "If this is not a 5-alarm fire for you, then what is?" So David and I have some things to say.
I've got a list
to Mayor Pete. David, I'll let you kick it off.
Top of my head. That's not a 5-alarm fire. Nuclear war is a 5-alarm fire for me. The price of living is a 5-alarm fire for me. The general indignation for just people that are normal and want to live normal lives, and you want to, shit all over that and tell them what they can and can't do. That's a 5-alarm fire for me. You not talking to us or not talking to the Libertarian Party for ever until now is a 5-alarm fire for me. now I'm worried they're gonna go and turn their votes to us because they think that, I'm sure that in their little white ivory tower that he's in, they think that all libertarians are just 28 white males aged 25 to 50 that are gun owners. Well, what just
I mean, we
came out
check a
this week?
couple of those boxes.
Well, we check all those boxes technically, but we're not the stereotype. Okay, there's others out there. We got a couple. We got the other races. Anyway, I'm not gonna say any of them because I don't know which one will get me canceled. But
all of them.
Yeah, I can't say any of them. Shit, I'm losing my point on that one. God damn it. But no, it's just in the week where it comes out that what population is Kamala not having a good time with, aside from all of it, but mainly there's one voting population that isn't down with the Kamala vibe right now.
Well, I mean, if you were going to say white men, I would expand that out to say
25 to 60. Well, yeah, men. I mean, just being told
even
Obama
was lambasting black men about not being sufficiently supportive of
and
Kamala.
Again,
so it's not just us.
If they came down from that ivory tower more than once every 4 years and actually took the pulse and walked the streets a little bit that are so scary, I didn't know it could be so scary out here without all these police and all these ethnicities. We got to get in our limos and get out of here quick, but we got to vote to help them out. It's just interesting to me that he would come out at this time and say that, with Kamala doing so great right now that she's just going to blow him out of the water. It's not even going to be an election, really, aside from all that problem of her not looking good right now. So now you're calling upon libertarians. Are you going to call upon the Communist Party of America after this point? Well, that's the Democrat. But
yeah, that slot's filled on the ballot. Dude.
Yeah, shit. I'm sorry. I just foisted by my own petard there. But yeah, it's more scaremongering. It's more tactics from the left that just doesn't. Again, just say less. Say you don't know a goddamn thing about the Libertarian Party without telling me that you don't know a goddamn thing about the Libertarian Party in one tweet. I think he won it.
Yeah, or
over to you, Dane.
Or libertarians in general, small L libertarians like us. And, for the non-libertarians in the sane space, we don't expect you all to be libertarians, and that's perfectly fine. We are a big tent here on WMD podcast. Just to, kind of throw out general broad terms for what it takes to be a libertarian in good standing in our view, or my view. I don't know if David wants to co-sign this. It's as simple as the non-aggression principle, right? Do you, in your own personal life, and if you happen to go vote or engage in public life, exhaust every resource and opportunity available to you to make sure that you are not either authorizing or directly engaging in the aggression against non-violent, peaceful people? So basically, if whatever they're doing is not hurting somebody else, you are not in favor of laws that are going to infringe their right to do whatever the hell it is they want to do. To take this back to another hot button topic that we have covered frequently on this podcast, but to tell you where we stand on it, for example, transgenderism or the general LGBT stuff. If you're an adult, a consenting adult, live your life, do what you want. I have no concern for you and your lifestyle whatsoever.
Let's get freaky.
I don't think the government should stop you from living however you want to live. However, once you bring that down to non-consent minors, who legally, by definition, as minors, cannot consent to anything, you are now violating their right to non-aggression because they can't consent to whatever it is you're doing. So that's why we would not agree with the transitioning of minors, but adults are perfectly at liberty to do whatever they want. The government should leave it alone. Very broad brush, very nutshell-ish. Libertarian in good standing is leave people alone. Dane. Don't hit people and don't take their stuff kind of thing. So now that we have our definition in place, back to Pete. Pete, my brother in Christ. Your candidate or your president for the last 4 years, your current boss, the one who made you transportation secretary, has repeatedly and almost with a, kind of demonic grin every time he says it, goes, your AR-15s don't matter when the U.S. military has F-15s.
We have F-15s.
Right? I'm paraphrasing.
I just don't know where they're at. I forgot them.
that is literally it's implying, it's not explicit, but it's almost like on that line to being explicit, threatening the bombing and or shooting missiles at or some other sort of weapon of mass destruction ordinance against U.S. citizens for exercising their Second Amendment rights. That's what that is. That's a damn near explicit threat from the sitting president of your party.
Hey, Dan.
And that's not even to mention, which we covered on this podcast, John Brennan, former CIA director, who said that he was going to put a whole bunch of people on a watch list after January 6th.
AOC wanted to do that.
And that
AOC wanted to put the Trump voters on a list.
And it included libertarians, which again, I didn't give you the definition of libertarian to be, pedantic. I want you to refer back to the types of people they want to put on lists. They want to put people on lists who have the opinion that everybody should be left alone, provided they're not initiating force or violence against other people.
And I think we mentioned Nazis were pretty big fans of lists, by the way. So he's engaging in a little Nazism there too. So.
Exactly. Lest we get into COVID, lest we get into, sending trillion or billions of dollars, probably bordering on trillions at this point, to foreign countries.
Well, we know about billions.
To impoverish us and bomb people halfway around the world. All these things, right? If you had any idea about what matters to the audience you are gaslighting and condescending to in terms of libertarians with this tweet, Pete, you would not say such stupid and ignorant things, because there's a whole lot of things that, as David was alluding to in the beginning, are 5-alarm fires for us. This is just one of them. Least of all, just within this last week, the Biden administration, not the Trump administration, despite having 4 years to do it, the Biden administration
trying to kill their political rival,
authorized the use of force against American citizens. Biden did that, not Trump. So if you're worried about what Trump might do, maybe check the precedents that your guys are setting right now.
Yeah, that's an interesting one, isn't it? From the same people that brought you have to get a vaccine to be able to travel, and we have to have it. You have to have identification to be able to travel. You don't need identification to vote. Just throwing that out there too, by the way, with 5-alarm fires going off all over the place. Pipelines that, burst, that they say, well, Putin probably did it. Them coming out and saying, having government agencies saying that certain stories involving laptops are misinformation, but that we need to investigate somebody that's a running candidate that's running against running against Hillary Clinton. We need to investigate him during his entire candidacy. Doing illegal shit all the time. And then coming out and saying, hey guys, sorry, we got that wrong. We're really sorry. We won't do it again. Except they don't do that ever, 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 ever. They never tell the truth. And then you could show them a video of them saying the lie and said, why did you say that? And they'll say, that's not me in that video. And then push the microphone away. Walk out. Hey, Nancy Pelosi, why are you insider trading? They don't even answer our questions anymore. That's a 5-alarm fire for me too. There, if we're just counting them up, that's all I'm saying. But yeah, Dane, it's kind of be careful. I guess we've got a new rule on this podcast. It's whatever the Democrats are saying that Trump is going to do, or whatever their political rival is going to do. You can guarantee that they're doing it right now and they're going to implement it. And then if they ever get called on it, I'm sure their excuse is going to be, well, he was going to do it, so he did it first. It's his fault, really.
Yeah. Yeah, that's par for the course for these people. And, I guess the last thing I want to say about this Mayor Pete tweet is how can they, okay, I'm not even going to ask how, because they're not even so tone deaf as to not realize what they're doing, in the sense that, okay, Pete, you're talking to libertarians, or just, I guess, more broadly, anybody that isn't just in the tank for your side, hook, line, and sinker. And you've seen all of the mainstream media wailing and gnashing and teeth about this basically since 2016, about how people not in step with your side have lost all faith and confidence in the objectivity or unbiased reporting of the mainstream media and quote unquote experts in academia, et cetera, et cetera. And why have we lost that faith? It's because you do stuff like this. You continuously lie and gaslight us and don't never cop to anything you get caught on and stuff like that. So how, Pete, could you possibly, in terms of making the point of it should be a 5-alarm fire to anybody that these individuals, these unelected bureaucrats, former generals, have negative things to say about Trump? The same people that are running around either themselves getting rich, profiting off the death of other people in terms of foreign conflicts that are no benefit to anybody but their banking accounts, and that bragged during while Trump was in office that, you know, the nameless, faceless administration people that were withholding intel from Trump and not carrying out his wishes and all of that kind of stuff, these very anti-democratic acts of these people. Why would these people coming to say that Trump said this bad thing or Trump has these bad intentions or Trump's going to act like a dictator and all of these kind of things, why would we believe anything these fucking morons say about anything ever? And how would they be some sort of authority that we should just take to the bank and say, well, Mark Milley said it, Mr. I need less white men in the military because it's too white supremacy around here. And maybe we should get some more transgenders in the military and that will really spice things up a bit. Yeah, General Mark Milley is the one that we're going to take as the gospel truth and the canary in the coal mine to warn us about the dangers of dictator
How's that working
Trump.
out, by the way?
You are so utterly and completely tone deaf, Pete, if you think that these individuals' credibility is worth a hill of beans or anything that we would pay attention to get concerned and be 5-alarm fire-ish about anything they say about Donald Trump.
And if you think, well, that's the problem. Is just the lack of integrity. If you want it, I don't know if this is a mic drop moment for anybody else, but it kind of is for me. When Kamala was at they called it, what do they call it? They call it like a community, or no. When she was on with Anderson the other night, what do they call it? A town hall.
A town hall, yeah.
A town hall where the town was told that they won't be asking any direct questions, by the way. It'll all be, it'll all be preordained questions because she can't think on her feet, or apparently she does most of her thinking on her back. Hey, anyway.
Or her knees.
Or her knees. I'm not... We'll leave it there. Anyway,
and it's not praying.
If you
she told the Jesus people to leave her rally.
Yeah, she told you to get the fuck out. I'm about to do some freaky shit with Pete Buttigieg over here. Anyway, if it's not, she wants to build a wall thing. She officially wants to start building a wall, and she said that she's put in plans to build a wall to control migration. When I believe the entire Democratic Party made fun of Trump for trying to build a wall and stood in front of it and said how racist it was. And she did. Well, I was throwing her in. I guess I should have
staged her fake crying in front of it. Yeah.
Oh, it's so sad. And then she says, well, it's a crisis. It's like, you've been in charge of that crisis for 3.5 fucking years. And it got worse, right? And then it all just tracks back to, well, we had to fix what Trump is doing. And now you want to do the shit that Trump wanted to do? You said that that's going to fix it? That's just my mind. Like, you guys, do they think anymore? They don't think that they have to think anymore, do they? They just said, we'll walk out there, we'll tell them to drink Coca-Cola, and they'll fucking drink Coca-Cola. Bye. Like, they aren't even trying anymore.
I think it's not just lack of thinking. It's actually worse than that, which, for all of their screeching about saving democracy and threats to democracy and stuff, one of the fundamental aspects of democracy is that the people running for office have to care what the people think. Even if they don't agree with what the people think, they have to at least care what it is, because The whole premise of democracy is exacting the will of the people.
Ah, there it is.
And sometimes the will of the people is not exactly necessarily in the people's best interest, in which case, in a functioning, healthy democracy, the people running for office would try to use persuasion to convince the people that, hey, you don't really want A, you really want B, and here's the logical reasons why, and blah, blah, blah. You try to convince them, right? That's what debates in politics is supposed to be about. But the strange tact that Democrats have taken recently is not only are they not interested in persuading the people to get on board with their no voter IDs and completely open borders and, low or no bail.
They're just bludgeoning you.
Just letting cities burn in 2020 with no repercussions and all of that kind of stuff is not only do they not care about what your opinions are about those things, not only do they not enact the people's will as far as those things go, they have blatant and open disdain for what the people want. Because that's the thing about the border wall and controlling immigration, right? When you polled the broad cross-section of America before, during, and after the Trump presidency, it had a majority vote of people in favor of getting control of immigration and the border situation, however that may be. That doesn't mean that everybody was in support of the wall as a particular specific policy, but they wanted changes to the law and they wanted just more restrictions on immigration, similar to countries like, Scandinavian countries, which the left loves to hold up in all other aspects of society, Canada, Japan, just to name a few of countries that have much more restrictive immigration policies.
Every other country has an immigration policy except for yo.
So
the whole fucking EU has an immigration policy.
The majority of people, Republicans, Democrats, Independents, were in favor of tightening all of that up. And Democrats took this tact of, not only are we not going to try to persuade you that that's not the thing to do, we don't care that that's what you want. We have open disdain for what you want.
And we're going to insult you for wanting that.
Do the exact opposite.
Right.
And then when it comes back around and they institute their policies, again, against the will of the people, and it backfires in their face, now they have exactly what David was talking about in the town hall with Kamala Harris. Now it's running back to the center for them. They were so far left. Now it's running back to the center saying, yeah, I'll fund to build the wall and I'll make immigration more restrictive and stuff like that.
Words.
And it's just
words.
And then pretend the whole time like it was their idea.
Right. Yeah. It's words. If you listen to somebody's words and you judge them on their words, good luck having a real fucking hard life. You don't judge people by their words. You judge them by their actions. And they've had 4 fucking years of actions. And they're acting like they didn't do they're acting like, what are you talking about? We haven't been in power. What are you talking about? Like, we didn't do all that. She was bragging that she was the deciding vote on Biden economics. And then she's sitting on her speech that she nailed, by the way, said that milk is up 25%. This is up 25%. This is up 25%. So she thought that was a good idea to say, we're going to, as my cabinet's going to control grocery items. We're going to put a price cap. Like, did you did you improv that one? Did you just try that one? Did you float that out there because you were vibing and you're like, you know what? Yeah, let's get some control on this goddamn market. And you accidentally went communist for a second. I get it. Communism is fun. Free love and booze and all that good stuff until somebody has to pay the bill. That's communism, right? Woodstock was communism, right?
It's a rough flavor.
Woodstock was communism, right? Anyway, all I'm saying is just judge these politicians on their actions and not their words, and you'll end up in the same spot that we're all going to end up eventually. Is they're just going to bludgeon us to death, And then that's another thing that I have a problem with their tact. They don't have any anymore. They used to have words, and they used to sound eloquent. They used to give speeches like Obama. Obama himself used to give eloquent speeches. Yeah, he would go bomb other people in other countries, but he would make it sound good. Now he can't even come up with shit. Now he walks into a town hall and is like, I'll tell these motherfuckers what to do. And he walks out there and he shoves all of his fat foot in his fucking mouth and turned the entire voting. Let's say it how it is. Democrats thought that they had the black vote. And Democrats have for a long time.
For a long time, yeah.
A long time. But now, I mean, eventually your chickens do come home to roost. And you haven't done anything except for fuck them forever, pretty much. And now they're like, no, I'm not just going to vote for your candidate because it's your candidate. And he said, oh, well, it sounds a little misogynistic. And boom. Now you're cooked. Because now you just insulted the entire side that you thought was on your side, but you didn't know any better because then again, you forget about them every 4 years until there's an election cycle. And people are starting to see through the very thin veneer of the Democratic Party, and it's not good. I'm not saying the Republicans are much better either. As libertarians, we've got to call it down the middle, but right now, Democrats aren't looking good.
There's one side that is clearly and objectively worse.
Yes.
I mean...
And you'd be shocked.
Yeah. And so while we're on this, kind of dovetailing nicely from the Buttigieg situation, we have a clip here from Morning Joe recently, Atlantic reporter and one of the worst writers, not only because her writing is discombobulated and shitty, but also in terms of the rhetoric and just non sequiturs she uses. She's just an atrocious human being in every sense.
She doesn't
of the
have
word.
that big dictation energy.
Ann Applebaum,
oh, come on, that was good.
From the Atlantic was on with Joe Scarborough and Mina on Morning Joe on MSNBC recently, talking about how democracies die in the modern world.
Please.
And you'll be shocked
Continue.
to hear exactly how she says that happens. So let's let Ann kind of go full on mask off for the left and the establishment mainstream media in terms of how much they really hate democracy, despite how much they say that they're trying to save it.
Yeah, I also think part of the problem is it's true that people, when you say Trump will be Hitler, which is, by the way, not what I said. I just said he's using some of Hitler's language and Stalin's language. People imagine Nazis or stormtroopers or something that just seems so incredible and far away from American reality. And that's true, but that's also because they don't have the imagination or maybe the knowledge to know how it is that democracies break down nowadays.
They don't have the imagination or knowledge to know. In other words, the people that are reading my columns are fucking stupid. And I gotta say, if you're reading Ann Applebaum and you're taking her seriously, she's right about you. Anyway.
Nowadays, most democracies fail not because of violence or a coup d'etat, but because a legitimate elected leader comes to power and then begins to dismantle institutions.
Did you catch that? She said, democracies don't die by coup d'etat, by, I guess in her words, January 6th. They die because legitimate, her word, not illegitimate, legitimately elected leaders. So fucking democracy, right? The people, whether they were bamboozled or not, they said, hey, you're the person I want. I'm checking your name on the box. I want you to hold X position of power. That's what the fuck it is. That's what democracy is, Anne. So if that person does something and then the people don't like it, then they can vote for their opponent next time. And if whatever all of the things you're worried about them dismantling happens, then the next person can put it all back. That's the functional democracy, right? But let's see if Anne saves herself from that flub of a century.
He puts loyalists in the jobs instead of experts. He politicizes institutions that are supposed to belong to the whole nation, like the military or the Department of Justice.
What?
He politicizes institutions for his own benefit. David, where have we...
What?
I've seen that before.
What?
That Leonardo DiCaprio meme. I've seen this one before.
Who did that? Here I come. Or wait, it's that Spider-Man meme too. They're all pointing at each other.
Yeah. Who was the one that weaponized institutions that are supposed to belong to everybody and used it to persecute their political enemies?
And not moments ago, by the way. Who's that one that kind of ginned up an entire population to the point where a crazy person took a pop shot at one of the candidates?
Twice in 2 months?
And who was the side that was saying that the other side was going to do that, and then it ended up like their side did it? And who was that was suing RFK in every state they possibly could to tie him up in a legal battle so that his name wouldn't be on the ballot? Who did that? Was that Donald J. Trump using the DOJ? Does he have control over the DOJ right now, Dane?
Now, I'm pretty sure it's not him. No, it wouldn't make much sense if it were him, if he was weaponizing the DOJ to go against himself.
So are you saying our new rule can be applied right here? Are you saying that whatever the Democrats accuse the other side of doing, that they actually are? You mean like when they tell me that black people, that they can't have voter registration or licensure or identification cards at voting polls anymore because black people can't get identification cards. They're not smart enough to know how to get identification cards, so we need to help them. And they say they're not the racist ones.
Yeah, it's exactly like that.
Got it.
Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah.
I got it. I figured it out. You see, it's that old... You crafty.
Let's see how much more Ann can out her own side in the next minute of this clip.
And makes them serve him and his political program. And, we've seen this happen. I mean, it's what happened in Hungary. It's what happened in Turkey. I saw it happen in Poland.
Go into
where
that,
I lived
please.
Part of the time, as you know, and the Polish ruling party at that time tried to do this. They went through the steps. They didn't succeed in doing it fully, and so they eventually lost an election. But,
Wait, what? Is there an echo in here? So
is there an echo in here?
Some people came to power, according to Ann Applebaum, in another country who were trying to do all these bad things, and they didn't accomplish it, and then their opponents won and dismantled everything that they did.
By the way,
pretty sure that's what when we throw around the word democracy, I'm pretty sure that's what we're talking about.
So let me get this straight. And seeing as we are talking about bringing down democracy and Nazism and so on and so forth, so how did Hitler come to power again? What was happening in Germany at that time? A major recession to where money didn't fucking matter.
Yeah.
And then he started saying all the right things. And what environment have they created over the past 4.5 years? Have they helped us out of this? Or are we on the verge of a recession? By any other name?
By some metrics, we were already in it.
Correct. So, again, I like how they put it all on one dude, but it's taken years to get here. And again, 12 years out of the last 16, you guys have been in power. You've had the majority of the power for the last 16 years. And we're here. I'm just looking at the report card. I'm looking at the actions, and you guys had the fucking wheel for most of that time, and we're here. And now you're saying that it's the American people's fault, or namely one person's fault, that's going to destroy our whole democracy? And who allowed that climate to happen? But they won't talk about that, will they? They'll just talk about him in the last 4 years.
Because what we're learning from Ann Applebaum in this long, winding, incoherent, rambling, diatribe she's got going on here is democracy ceases to be democracy when somebody she doesn't like gets elected.
Boom,
when the will of the people is exercised in a way that doesn't jive with her worldview, or as her and her, legion of nameless, faceless, undeservedly credentialed experts, if they're not the ones holding the reins of power, then it's no longer democracy. Doesn't matter that person was legitimately elected. Again, her words. It's not democracy if the wrong guy wins, according to Ann Applebaum.
It's not as hard as you think to change the rules, to bring in new kinds of people.
You don't say. You don't fucking say, Ann. You don't say.
I got a bug in my ear.
Fuck.
Not hard to change the rules or bring in people to,
or just blatantly disregard them. Just blatantly disregard them and then say, what? I had to do it. He was going to make me.
I mean, absolutely zero whatever. There's got to be a term for negative self-awareness. She's got it.
Jesus Christ. Trump, take the next month off, recover.
Just
let these guys
talk.
just keep talking. Let them keep talking.
Law against media or against politicians that you don't like, to use the IRS
Go on. Please don't stop her. She's on fire, Dane.
To use the IRS to go against your political opponents. Anybody remember Lois Lerner, or has that been memory hold? The IRS chief who was going after conservative and libertarian think tanks and hitting them with removing their 501c3 tax exempt status because they were not sufficiently, regime supportive. That never happened. That never happened.
Don't see anything here, Dane.
Nope.
Let's keep moving on.
Against politicians you don't like. And there are precedents for it in American history, too.
Yeah, there are. All set by your side.
So it's not as if it's absolutely never happened before. So I find all of that eminently believable. But as I said, for people...
I do too, considering you guys did it.
See, as it's happened. You just did it.
Cheered it on the entire way. And then now you're talking about how it happens.
For people who are going to vote for him because of whatever reason, they need to dismiss it, laugh at it, mock it, tweet it with LOL, lol at the top, because they don't want to admit to themselves what it is they're supporting.
No.
You just insulted an entire segment of the American population because they're not voting for your person because it's a joke to them?
And we are dismissing, laughing at, and mocking you. People like you. People who...
Fuck me, man.
Had all of these things happen, and you cheered for it, and or dismissed it and said, it's not that big of a deal. It's not a scandal that the director of the CIA, that the IRS head is literally removing tax exempt status from think tanks and nonprofits that are not sufficiently left wing or regime supportive. That's not a big deal. That's ain't no thing but a chicken wing, according to Ann Applebaum. But when somebody on the other side of the aisle just might do the same thing, again, all speculation at this point, because last I checked, Trump had 4 years to weaponize the military and move against Democrats, to use the DOJ to lock up his political opponents, to, use the IRS to go after his political opponents, to do all of these things that have been done in real life by your side. And he didn't do those things.
Not theoretical.
But now you're speculating that he might do those things in the next 4 years. Again, maybe he will, maybe he won't. And if he does, we'll call it out when it happens. But for you to sit there and, clutch your pearls and feign concern over these things that have already been done, we don't have to speculate about what your side did. We could literally point to headlines in the last 10 or 15 years. This isn't ancient history. We can point to the headlines and be like, you did this. Lois Lerner happened under the Obama administration. Biden has been for the last 4 years threatening F-15s for people with AR-15s. The list goes on and on.
And getting paid by another government, by the way.
Using the DOJ to go after his chief political opponent. Not, sending his best and brightest in terms of the Secret Service to protect his political opponent, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, Anne, with all due disrespect, shut the fuck up forever. Signed, Weapons of Mass Destruction.
Can we do that?
It would be nice. It would be nice if we
could
take
their pens away? Can we, they strike us all the time for misdis mal and it's not even misdis or malinformation. These guys are inciting fucking, I don't know, Dane. Has anything that we said that we know of led directly to anyone making an attempt on another person's life that we know of?
According to Anne, yes.
Well, apparently.
Our rhetoric is dangerous. So
because I know for a fact that their rhetoric has ginned up 2 people to try to take their political rivals' head off. If we don't count the bombs that supposedly were there or not.
Right, at other events, yeah.
And so let's just steel man that part of their argument, because they're already sinking their own battleship with Anne. But my whole point being, it's always crazy. And then, just a little tip of the iceberg too, right after the debate where she said that we have to protect democracy, or Harris, right after the debate, she just can't help herself, has to walk out and stick her foot in her mouth. She said we need to get control of these platforms, Twitter, mainly, and what's said on them. I mean, fuck. Like, you don't like the Constitution, it's getting in your way. I think the New York Times wrote an article that said, is the Constitution getting in the way of democracy? I believe that was if it's not, it was the gist of the article.
Yeah.
Like, they're bold-faced just coming out and smacking you in the face with it. And if you think that you're still right listening to that stuff, then I guess you're just captured. I don't know. Maybe someday you'll wake up and drink the coffee, but it ain't going to be this election cycle. And it won't it be interesting to see all the peaceful protests on November 6th.
Yeah.
I wonder if they're going to enact any of that deadly use of force against protests against those people.
Just like we told you in 2020, which, you probably already gathered for yourself at the time, when there were all those news reports of people boarding up their businesses and stuff in cities all over America leading up to the 2020 election. And the running joke was, not a joke because it was, serious.
It happened. Yeah.
Is those windows weren't being boarded up for in case Biden won. In other words, it wasn't Republicans and conservatives they were worried about rioting and looting businesses and burning down cities.
We had that summer of love.
Yeah.
We had that summer of love where multiple cities were burned to the ground and multiple buildings were destroyed and families. Yeah, the usual peaceful stuff.
And lo and behold, Biden did win by hook or by crook. And nothing happened. So we'll see 2024. I'll bet you'll see the same headlines again that, businesses are preparing for unrest as a result of this election. And if the results are different this time, if, Mr. Hitler, Stalin, Mussolini, according to Ann Applebaum, wins this election, we'll see how peaceful and loving of Trump's hate the left truly is.
I mean, is it time, Dane? Is it time to just pull the plug on this shit? Not the weapons of mass destruction. I'm sure plenty of people would agree with that. But but I mean, can we finally put this shit to bed? Can this be the last election that we don't have at least 3 parties up there? Can that be? Can we please have at least 3 so that there's some amount of quality control? Because I remember I've been saying this for a couple of years now. You remember when Bush left office? You remember that? And we were like, oh, thank God. The worst, at least we're done with the worst president in American history. And that whole saying, man plans and God laughs, right? It's only gotten incrementally worse since then. And if you think this is as bad as it can get, I'm terrified to see what 2028's election is going to be. It's going to be a piece of toast and a communistic dictator over here. It's like, and if you don't vote for the communistic dictator, you're racist because she's a Indian tribes woman, black African national, whatever she is.
Paraplegic, trans activist,
fucking just
something.
Slap all the victimhood just right on there. Yeah. And you have to vote for her. Well,
so, I gotta say, it ain't looking up. Let's hope that there is a modicum of sanity expressed in this election. I wish it weren't like this. I wish we didn't have to vote for our lives to not be, next on the chopping block for being divvied up for whatever it is the people that Ann Applebaum
whatever they have plans
in power to do.
Right.
But that's the world we live in. I'm not going to get into this whole, most important election of our lifetime stuff. Maybe that is more applicable in this one than past elections, but that's so tired.
It's always going to be applicable. It's always going to be applicable now.
That's so tired and trite. I don't even want to engage in it. But however strongly you feel about it, if you're an American citizen and you are allowed to vote here, although, if we play by the other side's rules, all of our friends and family, down below and, in Australia and around the world, you're more than welcome to vote in American elections. The Democrats say it's okay. So,
yeah.
I guess exercise your civic right to make us not have shitty leaders, or as shitty as they
Save our
would
democracy.
be
Infiltrate us and save our democracy.
I don't know how to tiptoe around this. You know what I'm saying, though. There's clearly a worse choice out of these.
You know
two.
what to do. And then I guess, I mean, for any voters that are undecided, my if I was Trump, my whole thing would be like, do you really want to associate with them? Do you really want to be on that team? That team that does everything wrong and then never takes any responsibility for it, and then needs everyone else to fix everybody else's problems, but they never fix anyone else's problems. People that think that emasculating men is okay, but over masculating women is okay, making you feel bad about how you feel and how you view the world. That's not a good thing. It's not something that cool cats do. It's not something that cool kids do. Is make people feel bad about their beliefs or personal ideology. But just, rambling.
So
anyway, Dave.
Listen, if you take nothing else from this episode, just take this to heart. If you're ever forced to listen to or read Ann Applebaum, or you ever come across a tweet by Pete Buttsex, boom.
It wasn't the last word. We should have said Buttsex.
Then you take whatever they say or write or whatever message they're conveying, think and do the exact opposite, and you're probably going to have a good time.
And if they're accusing the other side of probably going to do something, just go ahead and bet the goddamn house that they're going to do it. They're going to do it first. So anyway, well, with all that being said, and before the yawns continue any further, where can they find episode 217 of Weapons of Meme Destruction, Dane?
You can find this episode at WMD.com/217. They can get the audio only on any podcast catcher, just search Weapons of Meme Destruction, and they get the video on YouTube, Rumble, Odyssey, and X. Head over to WMDpodcast.com, the aforementioned website, which is the mothership for all things Sane Space, including the Support Our Work tab for how to support us monetarily. If you are in a position to do that, we thank you for your service. But you could also donate Bitcoin to us at the link down below on these videos. But other than that, the free things go a long, long way. Like, subscribing, sharing, comment, telling friends about us, helping us pump those numbers up so that they're not rookie numbers anymore. It lets the ads flow in and the money come in from other sources so that we can,
don't worry, you can skip them.
Keep this business a going concern and keep coming at you live every week and growing the Sane Space a little bit more each time. So with that, David, we will have one more. It looks like 218 will be out the Monday before Election Day, November 4th. So you will hear from the WMD boys one more time before the world implodes. We hope to have good news for you then.
I'll have my army helmet on.
We'll see what kind of insanity awaits us in this last week leading up to the election.
Should we shoot it in the bunker, Dane?
We should.
The fallout bunker.
Should lock that baby down.
Well, stay safe out there, guys. And until next, fuck it. I'm too damn tired. Anyway, until next week, guys, stay safe, but more importantly, stay free.